Raw! Curse your sudden but inevitable betrayal. Hey everybody, today at Inside Craft Show, we're going to talk about exposing log in post, how to deal with it, daylight, crazy backlit, insane challenge, this shot, shooting log outside. You guys didn't know it was me, did you? To look like this shot. Yeah, so we're doing some work we can't talk about. Jeff's going to show you how to do it. I'll just throw it to Jeff, literally. I'm just going to throw it.
Today we are going to be doing a color grade of this vlog shot that we did of Drew when we were out shooting some EPK for another project. So we're going to start from the finish, and I will go all the way through all my settings of how I do this. First off, I know we've talked about it in another episode, I think on the live show too, about how we did this with a bounce and one key light basically to frame up Drew here with this nice backlit, beautiful background that we have. So here's the scopes. We shot this at highlights around 76 IRE. Our blacks are close to about 23, just above 20. So we don't have any true whites in this, so I'm just going to go ahead and expand this up. Make the sky pretty bright, but not to where it's pointing out. And we're going to take these darks. There's no true black in this shot. Closest thing would be there is some really dark spots right behind this boat on the left, and then there's a boat back here behind Drew on the right, and that's got a really dark spot, and then Drew's shirt is the other spot, but none of them are true black. So we're going to try and balance it out just a little bit. Usually I would try and balance out a true black here for the bottom end, but since there is no true black, I'm just going to eyeball it at the moment. And that looks pretty good. I'm looking at my vector scopes. It's overall it's kind of a green bias shot, so we will fix that later on, but I'm just trying to fix the blacks at the moment. So that's actually looking pretty decent. I'm going to bring the midtones up slightly here. And if you look over here at my scopes, Drew is right here at 40, I'd say probably about 45-ish. All the way down to the dark spots on Drew is going to be close to about 20. So Drew's right about where he's supposed to be. He might be a little bit underexposed, but it's not going to be a problem for us today. So we do that. Now we will go to my second node that I use, which is going to be my saturation, and we're going to bump this up until it looks good. Actually I just went over it, so we're about 78. We're going to go down just a little bit on saturation, and that looks pretty good right there. So that's 74.60. So my next node after that is we are going to highlight, and we're going to do a little midtones contrasting here. That one of my little tricks, and I basically for this one trying to get out just the darks, which is going to put me about 12.8, and then we're going to soften it up, and we'll come in here and we're going to try and get rid of that sky, which keys out pretty nicely there. So I'm going to do that, and then we're going to blur it really big. We're at a good 39 for my blur radius. It's a pretty good key. It's got a little bit of detail pop kicking on the far right side, but we're not going to do this a lot, so it shouldn't matter with that. So basically what I'm doing is I'm expanding with my gain to bring the upper end up a little bit of this midtones that we have highlighted right here. And it's basically trying to bring Drew up a little bit more and bring that background up just a little bit. And that's looking pretty good. There it is off. There it is on. Everything is still inside. There's nothing peeking over. Do get a little bit, I don't know how easy it is to see right now with this camera, but you can see the lines coming off of the mast pole there. They kind of little mushy, come out a little bit more. So yeah, we did that. So now the next big step is going to be, I'm going to go down to, for me, I'm going to go down to the 8th node here, and we're going to go ahead and do this correction to get it out of the green space that we have going on. And we're just going to take it a little bit magenta to get rid of that green. Then we're going to pull it a little bit towards the yellow. And I'm looking at my vector scope, which is right here. I got the mouse going over it. And it was slightly green. I'll turn it off. Now it's slightly off the green, more towards the yellow, and a little towards the magenta. Now when you do that, your blacks are going to move slightly because I'm on primary wheels, not using log wheels. So I need to correct my blacks off of that, which is just a little bit more towards the blue side. There we go, that's looking pretty good and back to where it was on the bottom. So overall, that's a pretty decent change already. Drew's looking pretty good. Background looks really good. Drew's skin tone is a little off. So what I like to do is I will go back to 5, 6, and 7 so I can get a better key before my color correction. We're going to go in here and we're going to try and target Drew's skin tone, which is going to be kind of a yellow red. So I'm going to move that all the way down. And we're going to move the key a little bit here, both sides, to get a better key on his skin. There we go, getting really close. So that's getting Drew's skin. It's also getting the green in the background some. I'm just moving it up and down so you can see where everything is. Like if I take it all the way up, and you can really see what I'm keying out here. So I'm going to take Drew's skin back down to 0 here, and this is saturation is where I used it. So then when you come over here, you go to hue versus hue. And what I'm doing is I'm going to turn the exact same thing. This is going to turn it really greenish blue. And we're going to move those endpoints to where they were for the hue sat, where I keyed out the skin so I could see the difference. And that's right at it. So now then, I can take this up and now we can turn Drew all the way from purple to green. Now if you put it right back at 0, you're where you were, and Drew's slightly magenta, so I'm going to move it just a couple inches, not even a couple inches, a couple little tiny spots down. And then we're going to have a pretty nice skin tone there where it gets a little bit of that magenta out of the skin. So the other big one that I need to do is, if you look down here, our sky is very cyanish. It's got a little bit of green in it. So one of the ones that I would do is I will do this one a different way. I'll use the HSL and we're going to get this sky, which should be a pretty good key right there. I'm going to take that, I'm going to blur it some so we get a nice edge to it. Highlight off and on. It's a really good key. And I'm going to take the hue. I'm going to knock that. If I do it really hard, you can see hopefully y'all can see that through the camera. This is taking it down towards the purple, and that's a green. So we're going to go just into the blues here. I'm going to adjust that and make it a little bit more in between cyan and blue. Give it more of a natural bluish look to it. Now the bottom of that key down here in the water is getting a little too blue for me. So I'm going to take this, I'm going to do a gradient mask. And I'm going to expand it out. And I'm going to throw that right below the tree line so that only the sky is getting hit with that blue, and then a little bit of drop off into the ground. Now if I go down here to key, where you can see the actual key mask, the the sky is the very top really bright spot, and then it starts to fade down here, and that is the fade in of that mask going into the water. It gives a nice fade to it so you don't really see where the mask is going color wise. So here's this one. We'll go back over here. So my color's pretty decent. I like where it's at. So my last little touch is some of the dark spots on Drew's skin is a little too red for me. So what I'll do is loom for saturation. We'll go down here and we'll target this bottom end of it, and we'll drop that down real quick. And it's a good way just to bottom out and ease the saturation levels down slightly on the very bottom, and almost always in the reds or the oranges or the yellows. It's almost always in the skin tone range that you can use this as a trick to help. Then nothing is topping off, so I don't need to make sure everything's broadcast safe because I kept it all broadcast safe. The only big thing for me is I kind of think that need a little bit more contrast on the bottom side. So I'm going to go back to my first node, move it out of the way so that I can put a second node behind it. So this is all in front of my corrections and everything else I've done. So now I'm going to take that bottom end down just a little bit farther, and I'm going to take my mids up just slightly, and then you got it. This is the beginning. This is it after we've graded in log. Now that I've sitting here and looking at it, I think I'm going to go back to where my midtone expansion is. I'm going to add a parallel node to it. Then I'm just going to take a circle mask. I'm going to expand it out a little bit here. I think this boat could pop out a little bit farther, so I'm going to just go in here and highlight this boat just a little bit. There we go. I'm going to expand you out slightly more. Get right down there. Then I'm going to highlight that. And then I'm going to key it out luminance wise. So then there's my bottom end, which is the part that I'm trying to make pop a little bit more over on this corner. So I'm just going to take the very bottom and get rid of it some, soften it out, and then I want to get rid of the water that's back there. So we just keep that out. And then I'm going to go in here and get rid of the greens out of this shot. We're going to widen that just enough. Get some of that green out. Okay, and then we're going to soften that up a lot. I'm going to go in here and blur it so it's a nice good key there. There we go. I'm just going to barely pop up this section, make it have a little bit more contrast. There we go. And then that looks like a pretty good quick vlog grade for Drew right there. So cool. I'm going to render this out.
Today at Inside Craft Show, shooting log outside. You guys didn't know it was me, did you? Yeah, so we're doing some work we can't talk about, but just wanted to show you. This is like, we got the sun behind us, we're hitting us, we've got all kinds of problems and challenges, but we decided to shoot log because this is an instance of where using log is going to be to our advantage, aside from the birds. Can't log out those birds. Okay. Alright, so that's going to do it for this episode of Inside Craft Show. Hope you learned something awesome. Don't forget to like,
subscribe,
share.
Who's next?